Hey everybody, it's Janet from Future Ready Consulting, and we are here at the Market at Bee in Wyoming, Ohio for our training about how to make your website work for you. And I want to show you, we have a few people in-house today. Do you guys mind if I show the crowd here? Here we are. So we are here. You can see some pretty cool products behind me. So you're missing out on the products, let me just say. And here's what you're really missing out on right here. This is the smoothie. I'm telling you, it's the tropical smoothie. So good. So if you're near the Market at Bee in Wyoming, Ohio, you need to come here and get one of these smoothies or whatever you like. It's fine. All right, so let me pull up our slides here today. You don't want to look at me the whole time. We are going to talk about making your website work for you. I want to shout out to Downtown Middletown Inc. And Heritage Ohio and Main Street America for helping sponsor these trainings. There are other ones on this YouTube channel, futurereadyconsulting.org, so you can check them out. And if I go kind of fast today, you can go back and you can watch the recording and take it a little slow. But if you want to take a few notes, you can, or the best thing is just to hang with us and listen and see what's happening today. All right, so I know there's a little delay. We're going to talk about making your website work for you. And there's a lot of information here. My name is Janet Hearn. I do live here in Wyoming. And we have a great small business community here. We have a group called Elevate. And if you're not familiar with Elevate, female entrepreneurs, check it out and get on our list so that you can come to some of our events because they're rocking. All right, so you can get in touch with me. My email is there on the slide if you are interested in chatting about small business or Google or anything like that. All right, and again, I know there's a bit of a delay, so I'll try not to talk over my slides too much here. But first thing we want to talk about is why we're even needing this training today, right? The reason we need it is because 88% of online users will not return to a website if they have a bad experience. Yikes. So it's hard enough to get people to come land on our website, right? But if they come and have a bad experience, they may not come back. It's very likely they're not coming back. So that's why this is pretty stinking important. Now, I want to tell you, as we move through this, even if you pick one thing we talk about today and improve it on your website, that's amazing, because I'm going to tell you about 100 things. So just pick one or two, try those, and then come back and watch it again in a couple months and try something else. Don't get paralyzed with overwhelm, like there's too much, so I'm not doing anything. Just pick one thing. That's all you need to do. So parts of a website in website design, we have the graphics, right? Those are important. We have the functionality. It has to work right. I would say that is more important than the graphics. If you're not a professional web designer, awesome. That's okay. Use Canva, get some help. But it doesn't function right if somebody clicks on a link and it doesn't go where they thought it was going to go, or they try to sign up for your newsletter or get on your calendar and it doesn't work, that's going to be a problem. You want your colors to be consistent and not too conflicting. So you don't want different pages with different color sets. You want to pick some brand colors or get someone to help you with that and go ahead and do that and make that consistent. Oh, by the way, if you log into your YouTube account, you can put comments or questions in the comment area and we will see them and I will address them as quickly as I can. You want your fonts to be consistent, so pick 2 to 3 fonts that you're going to use: a headline font, a sub-headline font, and a paragraph font. Even just 2 is great. But having that other different font kind of calls things to attention if you need that. Your layout is important. I don't know if some of you kind of watched the evolution of websites. Websites used to be real scrolly, and then it was like, no more scroll. Let's have page, 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 page. Well, guess what they're back to? Scroll. So a lot of web pages now are just one page. They may have a menu at the top that you click to go down in the page where you want to go, but it's usually one long page. If you can put out one long page for your business, that's great. You can add pages later, like if you put products on later, or if you want to do a bio page later or something more detailed. But one long scrolling page is kind of where it's at. So it's just funny to me that we've switched to that. And I think it's because of cell phones, because people don't want to click, click, click. They want to just scroll down their phone and check out all the different pieces and parts.
That is so interesting to me, because I find that we're just about to launch, like maybe later today or tomorrow, like our full website.
Ooh.
And something that we went back and forth on was like, it feels like it scrolls forever.
Yeah.
And like, so it's like then it's about like it arranging like the calls to action in different places. But I just think it's so interesting.
Yeah, the design thought on that has changed, and I do think it's because of mobile. I really do. So Lindsay from the Market at B is talking about they're getting ready to launch their full website. So little pitch here, go check out the Market at B's website. And they were debating how much scrolling versus pages. And I have a little both. My homepage scrolls pretty far, but I do have some pages marked out for different purposes. So there's a lot to it. But consistency is the key. Functionality and consistency. If you can get that so that people don't think they've left your website and they're still on your website because the colors changed, then that's a good thing. A great website is goal-oriented, and we're going to talk about thinking about your goals for your website because they're different for different businesses. You want them to be search-friendly so that they pop up in search. Convenient, right? We don't want to click, 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 click just to get the information we want. Organized. So organized in a fashion that makes sense. It's good to test your website menus and things with maybe a friend or family member and say, hey, go find this on my website. And if they struggle to do that, maybe you should reorganize. And that they find trustworthy. And again, that goes back to functionality. So the first thing is talking about goals. So what is the goal of your website? Why do you have a website? Are you just trying to build your brand up? Maybe you're a brand new business and you're trying to build your brand so people know your brand and what it is you do. Are you trying to generate leads? So are you trying to get people into an email list that then you can sell to? Are you trying to make sales? Do you have product pages and products on the website or in a brick and mortar that you want to make sales? Are you trying to re-engage customers? So maybe somebody found you locally and now you're trying to re-engage them for another purpose. Maybe you have a new product. You want that lifetime value of that customer to be higher. You want them to come back. It's so hard to get customers, right? So if you get them and they buy one thing and you never see them again, you got to go find another customer. But if you can keep them engaged, all the better. I got to take a taste of my smoothie. We better get people running down here to buy smoothies. Anyway, you may be trying to attract employees. Your website, you might be selling like hotcakes, but you can't find people to work for you. So that would change kind of the vibe of your website, or it may change a page on your website that's really geared towards finding employees. You may be providing support. So you may sell a software or some technology or digital goods, and you need a lot of support. So you need a page that really supports your customers. So you have to think about what it is your website is going to do for you. It might be a couple of those things. I doubt it's all of those things, but maybe eventually it will be. So you may have to segment out, your employee area versus your brand area and things like that. So this is practically in every presentation we talk about, and at Elevate and everything. Know your audience. Who do you want to come look at your webpage? How do they act? How do they think? How do they live? You want the pictures and images and wording to match up with that audience. If you are trying to sell to parents, that's one thing. If you're trying to sell to entrepreneurs, that's another. It's hot here at B. They're making calls. They want that smoothie. Smoothie to go, baby. Is it aimed at kids? Are you selling more like kids products, kids' digital products or something like that, then you want to aim it to kids. So you think about that. Think about the writing on the page. They say to have a reading level of around 7th, 8th grade so that it's accessible to everyone. But if there is a group or audience that you're trying to attract that may be academic, you may want to raise that up a little. If it's an audience that comes from all different walks of life, you may want to lower that a little. You want to make your content accessible. And one tool you can use for that is ChatGPT or Gemini. So you can put a passage into that software and say, will you rewrite this at a 8th grade reading level, a 3rd grade reading level, whatever, and it'll rewrite that for you and you can adjust it. But think about that. So it's really helpful if you define your audience narrowly, you understand what they like and don't like, you understand the type of images they might be interested in. You don't want to show formal, fancy imagery on your Market It Bee website, people in suits and ties and dresses, because that's not really the vibe of the market. Now, you might get those customers come in, which is awesome, but it's more going to be like casual jeans, sweatpants, right? So you don't want to put fancy executives on your shopping at the smoothie place. Unless you were by a law office building, then you probably would. So think about that. So you want to set what they call SMART goals. Specific goals, measurable goals. We're going to talk about how you can measure them. Attainable goals. You don't want to have some goal that's way out of reach. A relevant goal and a time-bound goal. So those are SMART goals. If you're familiar with those, if you're not, it's a great way to write a goal for your business or a goal for your website. So here's some examples. Increase unique website visits by 20%. So we have a number that's measurable. It's attainable. We're not saying 50% or 80%. Over the next 2 months, we have a time-bound goal period. Now, I would say increasing your website visits by 20% in 2 months is kind of ridiculous, but it's an example. So you want to think about some SMART goals for your website that you can then check on and measure. I do have one critique of these example goals, and that is try to make goals that are within your control. You can't control all the traffic to your website. So I would add something in front of that that says something like, I'm going to update the copy and the pictures on my website in order to increase website traffic by 20%. Does that make sense? So the first part is in your control. You're either going to do it or you're not, because you have to celebrate those wins, right? You can't go, I didn't get 20%. All right, well, A, did you do anything? If not, why did you expect an increase in website traffic? But if you did do something, celebrate that. It maybe didn't accomplish the 20%, but maybe it got 5%. All right, well, now let's do some more. So I do like to add in front of these something that's that you can control and that the public is not responsible for. Promote seasonal products online and generate 10% more in-store purchases over the next quarter. Again, it's measurable, 10%. It's time-bound. It's an actionable item for you. Promote seasonal products. Add 1,000 new email subscribers in 6 months. Again, I would put something in front of that to say, what are you going to do to add 1,000? Are you going to do a new lead magnet on your website? Some freebie that people have to put in their email address to get? That's something you can do. And then your goal is to get in 1,000 more email subscribers. Something like that. Any questions about that SMART goal thing from our audience here? Or again, you can type online. If you're online and you're logged into your YouTube account, you can leave a comment.
Oh, it makes sense to me. I guess I never thought about to use it as it pertains to like website stuff.
SMART goals?
Yeah. Like it would not have occurred to me.
Yeah, so we had a comment here that we didn't think about using SMART goals for website stuff, but I think one thing we do with websites is we throw stuff out there and we forget it. And we go, well, I hope that did something for us. So being a little more intent, maybe that's the one thing you take away today, is being a little more intentional of what's on your website. And think about those changes and what that might do for your website. All right. Come on in. Let's talk about how you can measure success with your website. You can track online sales, of course. You can collect form submissions. So it's always good to have some form on your website, either right there in front if you want more information, or a freebie that you give away for filling out the form. You can monitor phone calls, so you can see if people click on your call button through there. And you can measure engagement. So we're going to talk about how you can look at all of these data and tell whether some of the things you're doing is helping your website. So the best software to track, and it's free, is Google Analytics. So that can be found at g.co/analytics. Sorry, it's really small on my screen. g.co/analytics. It's on the slide there at the bottom left corner. So Google Analytics gives you more data than you'll ever care to have. It's not too hard to connect. We're going to talk about that. But you can learn what search terms people are doing to find you. If there's something you do and they're not using a search, like smoothies. If you don't see anyone ever find you because they search for smoothies, do you have the word smoothie enough on your website? Do you have pictures of smoothies on their website? Maybe it's something you want to look at. So you look at how people are arriving there and actually see what's missing. Or a search term that you're like, oh, I didn't know that was so popular, and you might want to increase the use of that word on your website. You can also look at what channels are producing. So is it organic search? Are they coming from your Google Business Profile? Or are they coming in through social media? You can see all that in Google Analytics. You can tell where they're coming from. And that's what you can then bump up, maybe. I have to have my periodic smoothie sip. You don't have to. I'm happy to do it. All right.
David, I have a question.
Yeah, there's a question.
Analytics, and I really love what you said
About like a lot of people put out their website and then forget about it, because I feel like I'm definitely guilty of that. Google Analytics can be overwhelming. Do you have to know all the things, or is it okay to just kind of go in there and be like, oh, this is working out well, or like, look at this keyword, that's interesting, and then
I love that question. So I'm glad you asked that. You don't have to go deep. You should, if you hook it up, you should be like, yay, that was today's goal. Woohoo. And then go back in a couple weeks and see what you can see, because there's so many reports there. Once you hook it up, you can go find the reports that you're interested in. And every time you go in, you're probably going to find a new report that you didn't even realize was there. And so then you can kind of remember your favorite reports that gave you the information you need. But it is a little bit overwhelming. But the hookup piece, once you get the data flowing, it's just going to keep flowing. And then you can go look for different pieces and parts. And then you'll learn how to maybe do some comparisons. But the key is getting the data to flow between your website and Google Analytics. So yes, you can start out, you could spend 5 years finding all the pieces and parts of, but don't not use it because it's so much.
I also really love too, when you set up an account, I think it's automatic that they send you like a monthly email.
They do. They send you a monthly email with updates. Yep. So as this says, go to that link, get started today. It gives you instructions. If you're with a website provider that's fairly common, such as Wix or one of those, you can click and it'll practically hook it up for you. If you're on something a little different, there's usually a code you have to clip, and then you embed that in the header of your website. But most website providers, if you have someone that does it for you, or there's a website provider, it'll tell you how to do that because it's so common. And then you have to set up a property, and it leads you through this. And we do have a Google Analytics training we could do next time. But you can set up a property, and when you set up that property, you're good. It's your website, and it's that property is for your website, and the data starts flowing. Now, if you're not gonna see anything day 1, you're not gonna see anything day 7, because that's not enough data. We'll come back in 2 or 3 weeks, maybe a month, and now you're gonna get some good good data and you're going to start seeing data. You do want to check and make sure data flows. It takes about 2 to 3 days to really get going.
What is a property?
It's what Google Analytics calls the different, so you can set up different properties. So if you have an app, a web app or a phone app, like maybe you have a website, but you also have an app, you would set up another property for your app. And if you have an Android or an Apple, you set up a property for each one.
Okay.
So that's all it is different. And if you have a couple websites, maybe you have a storefront plus a informational website, you might set that up in 2 properties.
Okay.
Most likely, everyone's going to just need the one property,
Okay.
unless you really got some fancy stuff going on. Some people do have an app. So. All right. It will give you real-time information, what's happening right now once it's hooked up. It will tell you how you acquired different customers, the engagement. You can look at monetization. You can look at retention. You can look at user demographics. You can see what technology they're interacting with you on. You can tell if they're coming in on their phones or if they're coming in on a tablet or if they're coming in on a machine. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And you might say, well, why would I care about that? Well, if your site, and we'll talk about this in a minute, isn't mobile friendly, but everybody's trying to get on your website on the phone, you probably should try to be more mobile friendly on your device, because people are probably leaving because they're getting confused and frustrated. But I mean, there's so much data here, you won't know what to do with it all. All right. So that is the design piece and the analytics piece, the goal piece. Now we're going to talk about being search friendly. So most of you probably use Google search. Maybe some of you use Bing or one of those other search engines. You put in your search terms, right? And then generally at the top of the page is an ad. Somebody paid for that top area. On the right-hand side, you'll have Google Business Profile of the most important or most relevant, I should say relevant business. And then underneath that is the search results that nobody paid for. It's just Google's algorithm says, well, I think this is what you need to look for. You want to appear on that front page if possible, unless they're looking for something. If they're looking for steak dinner, B's not going to come up on the front page. And if it does, you better figure that out. So you want to come up if somebody's searching for vegan food near me and they don't find you, then maybe, did you even mention vegan food? I know you did, but I'm just saying, you got to check that out. So you want to appear high on the search results. So make sure you have your Google Business Profile. If not, go watch one of our other recordings to learn how to do that. And Google looks at these things as well as you should look at these things. Fast load time. You want to be sure that your site has a fast load time. Now, if you are doing your website yourself, some things you can think about is don't put massive, if you go out and take a nice picture of the front of your store with a fancy camera and you upload that into your website, that's going to be a high resolution photo that takes forever. Even if you make it smaller, it's a huge file. You want small file pictures, not like grainy pictures, but pictures that are lower file size so they load quickly. A lot of content providers now, if you're dragging and dropping in your website, there's usually something that says optimize for quick load or something, and you just click that button so that it loads quickly. You want to have original info-rich content for your website. You don't want to have things copied from other places on the internet. If you use an AI tool to write some of your copy, make sure you read it and insert your own kind of flavor and flair there so it doesn't look like an AI wrote it. So double check that. Google looks for these things. If they think you copied your content from someone else's website, they're not going to serve up your website. They're also going to look at the load time because they know people get frustrated if the content doesn't load quickly. And so they won't serve up your website because then you're going to get frustrated with their search engine. And test your links. I recommend you set 15 minutes aside every week, every month, something like that, to go in and just click through your whole website, or have somebody in your family do it and say, you know, I'll give you $5 a month if you go through and click through every link on our website. And just take that time, because even though you haven't touched it, or you think, what could have happened? Crazy stuff happens. Like, I don't know. I checked something the other day. I checked all the calendar links. Somebody calls me, my calendar link's broken. I'm like, there's no way. And sure enough, it was. I can't tell you how it got broken. I don't know if I skipped it, but you have to check on a regular basis. And you may be linking out to other information on the internet that somebody took down. And so people aren't going to blame them. They're going to blame you for having an old dead link. So double check your links on a regular basis.
It was so interesting too. I was just thinking about the importance of this. Like the other day I was on a website and it was actually like a well-known company's website. And the mobile version of their website, like I couldn't click on things.
Oh my God, that makes me crazy.
It kept on taking me back, and I thought, I like went like 0 to 100 and like real quick. I was like,
yeah,
for sure.
And are you going to buy from them? Maybe you did, but
well,
it's very tempting to leave.
A cell phone service, but yeah, I was absolutely like,
oh my God, that's even worse.
I hope nothing ever goes wrong and I have to do this again. But it's just like the reactions that we have when
it is. We expect it to work.
Yeah, and
we just expect it to work.
And that expectation is now, I think, so high. Or the website takes a long time to load. Like
Yep.
An elevator button, right?
The elevator takes too long to come.
Did I click
it? All right. So definitely think about how your reaction is to a website, and be like, okay, I don't want people to do that on my website. You want to look at your page titles and descriptions. There's a thing called keywords you may or may not be familiar with. I don't like the word keyword because it's actually key phrases. But anyhow, keywords are groups of words that people might be searching for you. So even though it's 2 words, it's a keyword. Or vegan smoothie is a keyword. So you want to have those in your description and title. So you want to check the title of your website and the description of your website, and that's usually in the settings of your website. And you want to be sure to use keywords that people would search for. You want information architecture. You want an organized site. We're going to talk about that in a minute. And you want it to be friendly on all devices. And again, we're going to get into that more here in just a second. To g.co/search console to manage your Google Search Console and improve the performance of your search. So that is another thing to add in. These will be available on recording. So that will confirm that Google can even find and crawl your site. You can request the indexing of new pages and updated pages through Google Search Console. What does that mean? So the indexing is Google and then it doesn't index it again for another 2 weeks, a month, I don't know. So if she updated, but now she added vegan smoothies, even though she's added that and saved it and published it, Google search might not find that for a while unless she asks it to. This is getting in the weeds a little bit. You can view the Google search traffic for your site and get Search Console. That's a mouthful. That's how you get improvement for your search. We may have connection issues, so hopefully not. All right, next thing we're going to talk about is ease and convenience. So for ease, we want a responsive design. We want payment. If you accept payment on your website, you want that to be easy and not hard. I can't tell you how many websites I try to go buy something and they make it so hard. I'm like, never get it. Like, I can't do this. It has to be easy. And you want to try to make it as personalized as possible. That's really getting advanced, but if you have a website that's managed by someone else, if they can suggest things, if you notice, like you go to Amazon, it says, here, these are some things I think you'd be interested in based on your search history. That's getting that's pretty sweet. Fast and flexible delivery and shipping. Amazon's broken that, right? If we don't get it in a couple days, what the heck? What's going on? And virtual consultations. Don't make people come necessarily to your office or your home just to consult with you, because they may not be able to, or they may not want to. And so are you set up for virtual consultations?
Jenny, does responsive design that it automatically adjusts if it's on mobile or web or computer?
Yes, correct. Yes. Responsive design, that was the question, and this is the slide. It means it responds to mobile and tablet and computer. So this really, if you don't have a switch providers, but the drag and drop systems now should have responsive design, but you need to test it because it may not be as responsive as you think. So you want pictures and things to shift. You want buttons to shift properly. You don't want things piling on top of each other because you squished it. I actually had an example of this. I was working with a client, and we were working through something, and I had you keep scrolling up and down. Why isn't that not laid on top? I'm like, I don't know. And it turned out it's because I squished it, so it just drug it down, which is not the design they intended. So that they were like, oh my God, they didn't know. So you have to, if you have someone test your website, have them test it on mobile and on a laptop. Use what's called vector graphics, because vector graphics can squish and expand without without becoming granular or getting all wonkadoodle. Try to be minimalistic. If you're going to do a bunch of fancy stuff, you better apply accessibility standards to font sizes and styles. What does that mean? If you they're not going to be able to read it. That was the same thing that happened with this conversation. They said, why did you talk about this whole gray and white band? It's just the white part. I said, it looked all white to me. I didn't see the gray part. It's a perfect example. And I said, I didn't see the difference. It all looked white to me. So if you're using whites and grays, or you're trying to emphasize things in a red-green colorblind, they're not going to see it. It'll look like the same writing all the way across. So you can use bold, you can underline, you can use a different Right. If you have any more questions about that, I do know quite a bit about accessibility and web design, so I'm happy to share that with you. Make sure the payment process you get pay you easily, which is the number one thing you want them to do, then they're not going to pay you. So if you don't have a way to pay with multiple ways, credit card, Google Pay, Apple Pay, PayPal, all of those different systems, then people are going to get frustrated and they may leave and not pay. That also, your site also appears more secure and more trusting if you have Google Pay, Apple Pay, PayPal. If you have put your check number in here, and they're going to be like, whoa, 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 hold on. Hold the phone. So anything you can do to add that layer of trust and ease would be really good. And then if you have a way in your website to recommend similar things based on purchases, you get this with Instacart, you get this with all of those. It's pretty sophisticated. It's okay if you're not there yet. You could even, though, look at what people purchased and maybe send them a follow-up email with similar products that it's not automatic, but at least, you know, you're trying to set that up. And you can also use complementary products like on an upsell. So if they buy a candle holder that fit in that holder, maybe they would like to buy those too on their way to paying their bill. That's getting in the weeds again too, really. We could go on with website design for days. For days. I got to watch my time because this is a long one. All right, we already talked about this a little bit. Be convenient. Curbside pickup, fast and flexible delivery, and virtual consultations are all ways that you can be flexible and attract more people to your business. Here's a bonus tip, but it's a little complicated. Mobile-friendly websites can perform better on Google's mobile search results. So you can use the Chrome inspector to test your website's compatibility. I think it'd just be easier if you grabbed your phone and opened your website on that, and then you can tell if it's compatible. All right. So information. Organize your website. So our team, shop, and contact. Very simple. 3 pages coming off the home page. You have jam, hot sauce, and gift cards. So it's just kind of a flow chart of how you can organize your website. And if you're redoing your website, start with this. Start with the home page. The most important stuff should be there. And then what do you want off of there that's potentially secondary? And then you can just build your tree out. And it's a lot easier than looking at a bunch of web pages and going, well, should we do this here? And what about here and this here? And Lord have mercy. So under consultation with you, some call to action on every page. I think we're very, and that if you have the scroll pages, you should have one about every screen length, right? So if you should see a call to action without scrolling. I should have another call to action. And it may be the same one. And I know as consumers, sometimes we're like, that's annoying, you know, that's just annoying. But when they make that decision that they like your stuff, you don't want them to go look for that button now. Yeah. You want it to be right there. Oh, I think I like this. Click. So keep that call to action coming. It might be a different one. Maybe you vary it a little bit, but keep that coming. Use visual elements to highlight helpful info, product pictures. If you're a coach, you coaching people. People to find what they need. If you're on live, sorry about the website. I think it's glitching in and out a little bit. So once you have that organization of your site, then when you look at it and you want to add things, you look at that same structure and you add them where they make sense. So here's the same Street Jam homepage. And they've added, there's areas where they can add now, and you have to be thoughtful about where that's going to be.
Can there ever be too many layers? Like, is there a guideline as to how many layers deep you should have? Is less better?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. Is there a guideline for how many layers you should have on your website? My thought is on that. I always try to have a button to get them back to home if they need to. That way, if they get too deep and they don't know how they got there, or breadcrumbs at the top, what they call breadcrumbs, because then they can see, oh, I don't want to be here, but I did like that page 2 pages, but and they could just click back on the breadcrumbs. I always like to keep the header at the top that has all the different places so they can skip around. But if that disappears and then they're lost, they're probably going to leave. So I would say, because I can't tell how deep your website is, really, unless you really show everything on that top menu. So I wouldn't say there's a guideline, but I would always make it easy to navigate back if they get lost. Another great tool that Google provides is called Google Trends. I think we've talked about that before. So that's g.co/trends, or trends.com is what I do. So that usually works. This is a free tool where you can see what people are searching for right now. Kind of, I think, lost our own head about what we like and what we call things, but you may find out there's other terms that work too. And I think you'd be surprised when you go into Google Trends. Of course, you better be ready to give up an hour of your life for that because you're going to go crazy. Now, research keywords over a time frame in a region. It'll also show you what region. So right, soda and pop is region in the region that you're in that's the most popular. But if you were to franchise or branch out, you may have to change the copy on that other site to match the regional term that's popular. I know that's noisy, sorry. Ones are the most. All right, sorry we went down for a minute. I think we're back. Let me get the slides back up. All right, I think this is where we were. Sorry about that, everybody online. I hope we're back. Sorry about the recording, just skip ahead. All right, so Google Trends, we were talking about that. Use some of your keywords and put them in there, and you can see the trends that are happening with your stuff. Sorry about that, folks. All right. Oh, we were talking about 404 page errors. 404 page errors. Okay, so you can design your own 404 page. You can put your pets on there. You can put your kids on there. You can put just animations or something, but put a link you know is dependable, like your home page, so that you can send them back to a page that you know works, that you know for sure works. And that way they will appreciate that and they'll be back in your flow again. And then hopefully they tell you what page was broken, but all right, trustworthiness. You want to appear trustworthy to your customers because they may have just met you. They just came into your website and they just met you for the first time. So have any of you seen like where they have HTTP and HTTPS? The S is a secure site. You always want to have HTTPS. So check your website. If you only have HTTP, contact your website provider. or look at that and see if you can get that changed. That's called a secure socket layer certificate. And those are secure sites. Everyone should be on that. If you're not, you either have a very old site, which is okay, no shade, or it just didn't work out that way. But you definitely want to have an HTTPS:// address. And that's called the secure socket layer. And that authenticates the identity of the site and lets users know that it's trustworthy. You also, of course, can use secure payments with Google Pay because this is, after all, a Google slide deck. So there's other secure ways to pay. But what's nice about that kind of thing, or Shop or some of those other ones, is your information isn't going straight to the shop. They don't have necessarily your credit card. Google has your credit card, and they're saying, we're transferring the money, but you're not going to get to see all their stuff. So that is another layer of security and trustworthiness that people like to have. All right, other ways that you can build trust through your website are through reviews. So a lot of websites now have a review widget. So they pull in the reviews from Google and Facebook and all that so that you can see your reviews that this website, this company has gotten right there on the website, which is really nice because then they can tell how people like your products and things. On Amazon, I know y'all look at the reviews. So you want to have either overall reviews of your services in your place or product reviews. Maybe you have a new product or something. I'm telling you, I will endorse the tropical smoothie. All right. Yes, Okay. So shoppers like that. And you also want contact info, an email address. I have an email address on mine, info@futurereadyconsulting.org. It comes to me. But I feel like it is like, oh, I'm going to get somebody, because this is a general, I'm going to get somebody who's going to see that right away. When I hire more people, it might be somebody else. But right now it comes to me. Don't blow up my email. And you also want a phone number. You want a phone number and a way to get in touch with it. I don't know about you, but I get so frustrated if I have a question or a concern or complaint, and there's no place on there I can find to contact anyone. No.
That website I was talking about earlier also does not have a contact number.
All right, well, Lindsay just said that people she was frustrated with earlier, no way to contact them. That is frustrating, and it does make me not trust that organization. All right, that was a lot. So to recap, a lot of information. And again, if you just do one or two of these things, awesome. Goal-oriented, search-friendly, convenient, organized, and build trust with your website. You might have a very small, short, one-page website, and you can accomplish all of these things with that one-page website. It's better to have a one-page website that is addressing these things than have a 20-page website that's not addressing any of these things. It's okay. You're all right. No.
The camera's facing her.
Yeah, they're not going to see you. They're not going to see you.
So many customers coming in.
That's right. B has got it going on. They're all coming for this. You listen. Let's see if they order a tropical smoothie. Okay. All right. How can you keep learning? You can go to youtube.com/grow with Google. You can also go to futurereadyconsulting.org. You can look that up on YouTube, and we have a lot of Google training plus a whole lot of other small business training. I'd love for you to take a look. And we just started a podcast, Journey to Impact. So come check out our new podcast. I just put up episode 3 this week. I'm super excited. All right. You can also get Google career certificates through Google. Free online training and tools at google.com/grow for teachers and students, local businesses, job seekers, and developers. I appreciate you all so much. I've got a couple QR codes on this final slide here. You can share your feedback with Google if you'd like for the one QR code. And the other QR code is a community I've started. It's a Google community. So it's a private community. If you click the QR code, you can join. I post Google tips and tricks there. You can ask questions. You can talk to each other. It's kind of like a Facebook community, only not, because I don't really enjoy Facebook all that much. So feel free to join. I would love for you to do that. You can email me too at janet@futurereadyconsulting.org. Thank you, everyone online. We got a couple people. Thank you, everybody who's going to watch the replay. Appreciate it. You guys want to say goodbye? Yay! Thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you next time.